Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves because what you're seeing in New York City tonight isn't just bad policy. This is a full-scale experiment in socialism gone wrong. A 34-year-old radical Zoran Mamdani has turned the Empire State into ground zero for economic suicide. I mean, we're talking free buses, rent freezes, government grocery stores, mind you, and now, you guessed it, a mass exodus that's got Ron DeSantis sounding the alarm. Fox Business says that Florida real estate agents are getting mobbed by millionaires escaping the madness. Now, one developer said it straight. Hundreds of millions in New York money pouring into Palm Beach and Miami with just this quarter alone, folks. Guys, that's just a matter of 3 months. And Ron DeSantis, he's not celebrating. He's warning America. He said it's called ballistic podiatry, shooting yourself in the foot so hard you can't even walk anymore. Because while President Donald J. Trump rebuilds this country with jobs, security, and energy dominance, New York's new people's mayor is tearing his city apart in record time. Now, this isn't just politics anymore. This is a preview of what happens when socialism wins a mayor's seat and thinks that it can outsmart capitalism. So stick with me, guys, because tonight I'm going to expose exactly how Mamdani's so-called free bus plan just detonated New York's economy, and more importantly, how his rent freeze bombshell just sent Wall Street packing, and why even Democrats are panicking as Ron DeSantis warns Florida can't hold all the refugees. You're not going to want to miss a second of what we're going to discuss today, because what's collapsing in New York right now could be the warning shot for the rest of America, all 50 states. Hit the like button and subscribe, and drop a comment down below. Let me know where you're watching from tonight. Folks, Ron DeSantis, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, isn't just watching this train wreck from the sidelines. In fact, he's sounding the alarm to the entire nation. He said it himself. He said, New York's leadership has turned ballistic podiatry into an art form. They just keep shooting themselves in the foot. The warning came after fresh Fox Business data confirmed what every Florida realtor already knows. New York money is stampeding south. In fact, contracts in West Palm Beach and Miami are exploding. Hundreds of millions of dollars in signed deals in just a few months. So Ron DeSantis is warning America that what's happening up north is the inevitable collision between socialism and reality. When you raise taxes, freeze rents, and hand out free everything, I mean, the productive class doesn't argue. They evacuate. Under President Donald J. Trump's booming pro-business policies, Florida's economy is roaring ahead. Jobs are up, housing is thriving, retirees are protected. Meanwhile, Mamdani's socialist experiment is driving capital, families, and small business owners out of the Empire State at record speed. Ron DeSantis' message is crystal clear. If New York wants to play communist, Florida will cash the checks of its refugees. Because when blue state ideology meets red state competence, well, the results are visible from orbit. So how did all of this happen is the big question. Like, how did the world's financial capital just hand its future to a 34-year-old radical with zero real world experience? Well, let's just say that Zoran Mamdani rode into City Hall on a wave of emotion, TikTok buzz, and media packaging so slick that it hid the truth. He was branded as this fresh face, a reformer, a new generation of leadership. But what voters got instead was a discipline of the Democratic Socialists of America. We're talking about a man who wants government grocery stores, rent freezes, and police defunding. And so now the hangover is setting in. Look, New Yorkers are saying it out loud right now. We're on the way to becoming a communist state. This is what people are saying. Neighborhoods that once symbolized capitalism are plastered with for sale signs. The same residents who cheered for change are now watching their property values and sense of safety evaporate. In fact, the media sold a fairy tale. Reality delivered the bill. And so now many are admitting that they didn't research his record. They just didn't want another old politician in office. And so now, under President Trump's leadership, Americans everywhere are watching this blue state meltdown in real time. And they're realizing just how fast a city can fall when charisma replaces competence. Now, before we keep going, I do want to remind you guys of something very important, because if you think that New York's policies can change fast, wait until you see how fast your Medicare plan can change without you even realizing it. In fact, the new rule of retirement is very simple. Check your Medicare plan every single year. Costs rise, network shift, and benefits change whether you notice it or not. And this is why I partner with Chapter. They make sure that your Medicare coverage evolves with you and not against you. Now, one of our viewers, she said, I didn't realize that my plan had changed until Chapter explained it. So let me ask you, are you living by the old rule, or are you joining the new one that everyone else is already following? Now, most people are already calling that phone number right there at the bottom of your screen, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. I left the phone number and the link down below. You can click it, or you can dial him on the phone, 909-563-8279. Oh, and listen to this very real comment from one of our viewers here. So Kevin Antley, 612, said, Ron, Chapter just helped me save $700 a year. That is a blessing. Praise the Lord and thank you, Ron. Can somebody drop an amen in the comments for Kevin? Okay. Now, guys, this is why I only work with partners who deliver real results for real people. So again, you can call them 909-563-8279, or you can visit askchapter.org/Ron and make sure that your coverage keeps up with your life. Okay, so now let's get back to this chaos that's going on in New York, because Mamdani's next idea makes the bus plan look like child's play. Now, let's talk about Mamdani's so-called free bus revolution. Yeah, the one that he claims is going to make New York more equitable, that one. Well, unfortunately for a lot of New Yorkers, in reality, it is the biggest open invitation to chaos that the MTA has ever seen. In fact, he says fare evasion costs nearly $1 billion a year. So his genius solution is to make every bus ride free. Yeah, folks, this is like saying your house has a leaky roof, so you're just going to go ahead and take the roof off entirely. That is literally the equivalent of what Mamdani has decided to do to New Yorkers. And so now what we're seeing is that New Yorkers know what's coming. The same lawlessness that turns subways into these danger zones, it's just going to spill straight out onto the streets. When people don't pay, they don't respect. That's not just economics, that is human nature. Riders already fear harassment, they fear theft, and even assaults. We've seen tons of viral clips hitting the internet, the police swarms at 34th Street, the shaken victims on camera, and now just imagine that. Imagine multiplying that by every route, every borough, every hour of the day. President Trump, he already warned years ago, when you stop enforcing the rules, you stop having a country. And so the same goes for a city. Mamdani's bus policy isn't mobility. This is moral bankruptcy that's disguised as compassion. And this is New York taxpayers who are going to end up funding this fantasy. Then came the rent freeze bombshell. This is when the money truly panicked, okay? So Mamdani announced that roughly 25% of the city's rent stabilized apartments, they were going to get an indefinite freeze. He framed it as justice for the working class. But investors like hedge fund titan Cliff Asness, he saw it for what it really is. It is a hydrogen bomb for New York's economy. Because for every tenant celebrating a rent lock, there is a landlord staring down a tax hike. The other 75% of renters, they're going to feel it next. Higher property taxes, utilities, and let's not forget about inflation passed directly onto them. And so when property owners can't raise rents, they stop investing. Buildings decay, neighborhoods rot, and soon you've got 1970s New York all over again. Graffiti everywhere, boarded up windows, and fear in the streets. Anybody remember how Harlem used to look in the 1980s? Yeah, we could be seeing that overnight. Meanwhile, Florida is rolling out the red carpet. Financial firms, real estate developers, even retirees are pouring in. They're bringing jobs and capital with them. Ron DeSantis said it best. They nuked themselves. We're just catching the fallout. His words, not mine, guys. Mamdani promised fairness, but what he really delivered was flight, an economic jailbreak that even his own donors didn't see coming. In fact, the Empire State just triggered its own evacuation alarm. And if you thought that the free buses were wild, oh, wait until you hear what Mamdani's latest masterpiece is: government-run grocery stores. That's right, folks. So he wants the whole city itself to take over food distribution. Do you guys see where this is going? Is anyone prepared for what is coming down the pipeline here? I mean, they're pitching it as like a public option for groceries, but we've already seen this movie before, and it doesn't end with full shelves. In fact, it ends with ration lines, empty aisles, government ration cards, possibly even empty shelves. Now, families who fled Cuba and Venezuela, they're already warning New Yorkers about this. Guys, this is exactly how it starts. One woman told reporters that her mother lost her home, her father's gas stations were seized, and the government dictated what you could eat and when. And so now Mamdani wants to handpick which products are approved by the government and how much you're allowed to buy. Think about that, guys. New York City, the capital of capitalism itself, debating about how many loaves of bread citizens can take home. And so while President Trump is expanding manufacturing, energy, and small business freedom across America, Mamdani's vision is bureaucratic grocery clerks deciding who gets to buy milk. Folks, next they're going to tell you how many eggs you can buy. Guys, this isn't progress. This is regression, straight into the arms of socialism, one shopping cart at a time. And so the rot doesn't stop with the food. It is literally spreading in the public safety. So under Mamdani's leadership, the NYPD is at its lowest staffing level since 1990s, down over 7,000 officers. Look, he's proudly aligned with the Democratic Socialists of America, whose platform calls for abolishing prisons and defunding the police. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Drop a yes if it does. This is the same rhetoric that gutted cities like Portland and San Francisco, mind you. Officers are retiring early. Recruits are leaving for Texas, for Florida, Florida, even Tennessee, anywhere where their badges still mean something. Now, here's a kicker, okay? So Mamdani wants a civilian compliant review board to have final say over discipline, staffed by activists who already think that every cop is guilty before proven innocent. And President Trump warned years ago that without law and order, you lose civilization itself. Now, today, Florida's Law and Order 2.0 initiative, backed by President Trump and Governor Ron DeSantis, offers bonuses to police officers relocating to the Sunshine State. Get this, guys. Meanwhile, New York's finest are packing their boxes. Their families are terrified of what's next. And Mamdani's calling it community empowerment. The rest of us is calling it a surrender. Because when the protectors walk away, the predators move in. Now, what if I told you that while the media keeps distracting us with political circus and celebrity nonsense, some of the smartest money on Wall Street and even inside the AI and crypto world is quietly moving into something that the mainstream media isn't talking about yet? This is the kind of move that could literally reshape the entire industry. In fact, multiple industries could be completely reshaped, and this is happening under a ticker that most Americans haven't even heard of, IPST. Now, before we go any further, this video is sponsored on behalf of IP Strategy, currently listed on the NASDAQ under ticker symbol IPST. But trust me, guys, you're going to want to hear this because the company's strategy lines up perfectly with the America First, innovation-driven vision that President Donald J. Trump has been fighting for, rebuilding American strength, bringing transparency back to our markets, and cutting out waste once and for all. So here's what's happening, folks. IP Strategy has done something almost unheard of. They've taken a traditional, publicly traded company and transformed it into a modern-day powerhouse with a digital asset treasury at its core. So their validator business, this is part of the Story Protocol network, is already producing major early results, earning around 165,000 IP tokens. Now that's about $1.5 million in its first 2 weeks after launch this fall. Now this is real world traction. This is not hype. Then look at the balance sheet. So back in August, IP Strategy closed a $223.8 million private placement, eliminated every penny of senior debt, and added more than 53 million IP tokens, worth roughly $731 million straight to the books. Now, that's a cleaner, stronger foundation than half the companies that are trading on the NASDAQ right now. And it didn't stop there. They cut out the excess, downsized old alcohol operations, streamlined costs, and brought in a board stacked with some serious digital and crypto talent. I mean, even the Story Foundation, the creator behind the IP token, announced plans to buy up to $7 million worth of IPST shares on the open market. That's some conviction. Now think about it. President Trump's rebuilding America through strength, self-reliance, and innovation. And companies like IP Strategy on the NASDAQ under ticker symbol IPST, they're doing the same thing in the digital economy, building real value, cutting waste, and putting America back on top. Now, I'm not an investment advisor. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research and due diligence before making any investment decisions. But when you see what IP Strategy is building, I think it's pretty clear. This is one company rewriting the playbook for the AI and crypto era. And the money's already on the move, folks. I mean, Manhattan skyline may still shine at night, but behind those lights are moving trucks, storage units, pods, 2 men in a truck, one-way tickets to Florida. Look, millionaires, hedge funds, executives, small business owners, they're all leaving in droves saying enough is enough. Fox Business has already confirmed what locals are whispering. West Palm Beach and Miami have officially surpassed New York as the world's fastest growing wealth hubs. Now, think about that just for a second, okay? Think about it, okay? Wall Street, the symbol of American capitalism, is now being hollowed out by its own city's anti-capitalist mayor. Guys, hedge fund offices once packed with traders are going dark as their owners relocate to tax-friendly Freedom First Florida. A developer told Fox that his firm closed over $100 million in New York contracts in just a few months. All buyers fleeing south. Now, they're not just escaping high taxes. They're escaping tyranny disguised as progress. And under President Trump's economic revival, low taxes, domestic energy, stable markets, Florida looks like the future. Meanwhile, Mamdani is presiding over an economic evacuation. U-Hauls line Wall Street, palm trees replace skyscrapers, and the Empire State is watching its empire relocate zip codes. The message is loud and clear, folks. When freedom leaves, fortunes follow. Now, if there's one rule that is clear heading into 2026, it's this. You can't depend on the system to protect you. You have to protect yourself. And this is why I partnered with Noble Gold Investments. They help everyday Americans take a portion of their retirement and secure it with physical gold and silver, the only assets that have never gone to zero. Now, this is not about fear, it's about freedom. And once people understand that, they end up saying the same thing. That just makes sense. This is why most people who have seen what's coming down the pipeline, they're already calling Noble Gold at the phone number right there at the bottom of your screen. Phone number is 877-646-5347, or they're visiting ronyatesgold.com in order to download their free wealth protection kit, because hope is not a plan, but protection is. And the smartest people of 2026, they're not waiting for permission to take control. And so this is why Ron DeSantis isn't just leading Florida. He's defending America's firewall against socialism. And so as Mamdani is celebrating collective ownership, Ron DeSantis calls it what it really is: ballistic podiatry. Shooting your own economy in the foot and then blaming capitalism for the limp. Under President Trump, Florida has become the gold standard of governance. Low taxes, energy independence, booming real estate, and record population growth. Meanwhile, you got Ron DeSantis. He sees the writing on the wall. He already knows what's happening when radical mayors like Mamdani take power. First, they drain business confidence. Then they drain the population. Florida, by contrast, is absorbing the fallout. Look, corporations are relocating, families are resettling, retirees are finding peace, and entrepreneurs are finally free to build without red tape. I don't know about you, but the contrast couldn't be starker. New York's leadership preaches redistribution. Florida practices reward. One punishes success, but the other celebrates it. And this is why Ron DeSantis warned that Florida cannot hold the refugees. And he's right. America's migration map is redrawing itself in real time. The freer the state, the fuller its future. Now, in Trump's America, Florida isn't just a destination. This is a demonstration. In fact, this is proof that freedom works every single time that it's tried. And so even Democrats are panicking, folks. The same pundits who praise Mamdani's fresh energy, they're now begging for damage control. Editorial boards from the New York Post to local liberal outlets, they're all calling his agenda unsustainable, reckless, even tone deaf to working class realities. Union leaders are absolutely furious because the very jobs that their members depend on are disappearing. Developers are pausing projects, restaurants are cutting staff, and the tourism industry is quietly packing up its bags. Inside the Democratic Party, the whispers are growing even louder. Did we just hand Trump 2028 on a silver platter? Because every time a radical mayor tanks a city, the contrast becomes undeniable. President Trump's America is thriving. Energy prices are falling. Inflation is cooling. The border under control. And so while blue state experiments continue to crumble in real time, even moderate Democrats are trying to distance themselves from Mamdani's socialist circus. They're already seeing what happens when ideology replaces practicality. And the irony, guys, the people's mayor who promised to fight for the poor is driving them out faster than anybody before him. So what we're watching in New York isn't just failure. This is the left eating its own. And President Trump's America is sitting back saying, well, I told you so. Dropping "I told you so" down below. So what does all of this mean for the rest of the country? Well, it's clearly a warning shot. This is a live demonstration of what happens when socialism meets the real world. President Donald J. Trump from the Oval Office, he's watching the collapse of New York and saying exactly what millions already believe. We're not going back. His administration is already pushing forward with the Trump tax cut extensions, revitalizing domestic energy, rebuilding manufacturing, and rewarding states that protect police and not prosecute them. And so while Mamdani freezes rents and buses, Trump is thawing the economy. So while Mamdani demonizes business owners, Trump's America has given them freedom to build again. And while DeSantis shores up Florida as the firewall of liberty, Trump is making sure that the freedom extends from sea to shining sea. This isn't just about one city. This is about the direction of the entire nation. If New York can crumble under socialism, any city can. But if America keeps choosing Trump's vision of strength, order, and prosperity, then this country will never kneel down to the chaos of the far left again. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just politics anymore. This is a rescue mission, and it's already underway. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below.